Hello everyone, it is Friday, July 23rd, 2021. Of course, Wednesday was New Comic Book Day, which means right now it's time for the new comic book video. Was not a real large week for books, but there were still a couple of decent titles that came out. And then this past weekend, there was a toy convention in town. So I'm going to kind of give a little review on the toy convention and what that toy convention means to the future of shows here in town. So let's jump right into the books, shall we? First one, Star Wars, War of the Bounty Hunters, Jabba the Hutt. Of course, nice Boba Fett cover right there. He has the new show coming out in December. So as you know, you're going to start seeing a lot of Boba Fett stuff coming out, as well as next year when The Mandalorian comes out, you're going to start seeing a lot more Mandalorian stuff and probably a lot more Baby Yoda stuff to get hyped for the new show. So there was that. One of the books I was really looking forward to, Moon Knight #1. Really nice looking cover there. The problem I had with this is that there was just so many covers of this book that you just kind of oversaturate the market, and it makes the books relatively, no value. You're going to be able to find these books for a long time at a, $2, $3, $4 price point, more than likely, because there is going to be a lot of them out there. It's not going to be a book that's going to be hard to find. That was cover A. Here's another cover here. Being a Moon Knight fan, which I am, as you can see my Moon Knight statue right there, I picked up different covers that I liked. Just the face of Moon Knight. Kind of a cool looking cover right there. And then Scotty Young did a really nice cover. I haven't been buying a lot of Scotty Young stuff lately, but I thought that was kind of cool looking, so I picked that up. That is a perfect moon for a signature. And Scotty Young is just an SY, so it's not going to be that hard to put that in there. But that's a really cool spot for like a signature, or maybe if you want to get, a little sketch done, you can do it right there on the moon. Perfect for that. Perfect for that. You don't have to buy a blank variant. You got the Scotty Young cover where you got plenty of space to do it on that big moon. So there was that. That was it for mainstream. Marvel only, a couple of Marvel books and nothing DC. So there was that. Next up, Nottingham #5 from Mad Cave. A book I'm kind of looking forward to from Boom Studios. This is Dark Blood. This is a 6-part series. This is 1 of 6, cover A. And cover B. Kind of reminds me of like a Donald Trump right there. Kind of a Donald Trump look. But kind of a cool looking cover right there. Cover purchase only. The Girl Who Electrified Tesla. This is a bondage cover. I do like the bondage covers because they have a really good secondary market sell point. It goes all the way back to the Wonder Womans in the 30s or, early 40s, where Wonder Woman had a lot of the rope covers, a lot of the bondage covers, and those are very highly sought after. Same thing here. Anything with something like this, there's always going to be a better secondary market for it than just some regular issues. So I got that. From Black Caravan, Cherry Blackbird. Kind of a cool concept. This is a polybag booked right here, but it was just kind of a cool looking cover. So I'm going to end up getting another one of these so I can read one, keep one in the polybag. Walking Dead Deluxe #19. Of course, the number 19 is the first appearance of Michonne. They had, again, a ton of covers on this, different variations of Michonne. I picked up a couple. Here's one cover here. And this is pretty close to what the original cover looked like from the original release of issue number 19 right there. And I got that. So again, there's going to be a ton of those out there. So I only picked up a couple. And then finally, from Image Comics, a book that sold really, really well and sold very, very quickly. This is Mom, Mother of Madness, #1, cover A. And cover B. They had a couple of other covers, but those are the two I was able to get. The bad thing is about these, I don't know if any of you had that issue with it as well. This book here, especially on the spine and on the corners, really, really hard to find without any damage. There was a lot of cracking issues with that book on the black. So really hard to find a high grade copy. I was lucky to find a couple of high-grade copies, but I really had to look to get those high-grade copies. So there was that. Now, this past weekend was a Toycon. This was this past weekend. It was July 16th, 17th, and 18th. Downtown Fremont Street experience. If you've never been to Las Vegas, Fremont Street is in downtown. Has a horrible amount of homeless people. If you stay on the Fremont Street, you're pretty much okay, but you're still going to be dealing with a ton of homeless people. They have live bands, live music in the evening. So it's kind of a cool concept. But I thought, okay, I work on Fremont Street in a casino, and I thought, I'll go take a peek at it on my lunch. And so I just kind of walked over there and looked, and I had a friend, Rudy, who went to the show with his nephew. And one of the things Rudy had told me is that they were charging $20 a person, and it said $20 a person, you'll get a free Hot Wheel with the purchase of your ticket. So he, paid his $20 to go to the show. He bought his nephew the ticket for $20. And then he went there, and they had a table where it had some Hot Wheels on it, and they said, pick a Hot Wheel. So he picked a Hot Wheel, and then he told his nephew, go ahead and pick one that you want. And the person there said, no, you're only allowed one Hot Wheel per group. One Hot Wheel. So you're telling me that if I have a family of 6 people, mom, dad, and 2 or 3 kids, that we're only allowed to get one Hot Wheel for $100 worth of tickets? So that was weird right there. That was kind of like, put up a red flag. Like, what kind of place is telling people you only get one Hot Wheel per family? That's just ridiculous, because if you have 3 kids and you're telling 3 kids you got to split a Hot Wheel, you're going to have issues. So, strike number 1 on that there. Now, I don't know if that was just an oversight by the company that ran it, but again, strike number 1 on that. Strike number 2, and this is a big one, it was an outdoor show. They were outside. Who does a show in Las Vegas outdoors in 110 degree weather or 115 degree weather? That's ridiculous. First of all, people don't want to walk around in the sun, even though that area is fairly covered and isolated from the sun. You're still outside, and it's still hot as sin out there, and you're going to have a show outside. First of all, you're putting your product out there, whether it be comic books, which there wasn't hardly any comic books out there, or your Hot Wheels, your toys, and then you're going to sit out there for 3 days in the heat. I didn't understand that. There was enough empty spots in that Neonopolis where if you're going to have a show, you should have had an indoor facility to do that. Now, they had an indoor facility for a couple of the autograph guests they had. The big guest was Lou Ferrigno. But you know what? Don't make people walk around outside. So that's strike number 2. Strike number 3 is the tables were very small. They were charging, I think it was, you could have gotten a table as a vendor. It's like 3 tables for $300 for 3 days, for the 3 days. And you think, okay, that's really good. But then you realize that the tables were a lot smaller than a normal table, and you couldn't put a lot of stuff out on your tables. So you really can't bring a lot of the product that you'd want to. And the fact that it's outdoors is a big drawback, on top of that. Now, there were not a lot of vendors out there. The vendors that were out there didn't have a lot of product. They had a few things on the table. There was a couple of decent vendors, but no real comic book vendors. A lot of the toy vendors were just kind of junky toys, pops, things like that. And then, of course, the little autograph pavilion that they had. $20 is the standard rate for a show here in town. But this is my point. I mean, you had, an artist from Garbage Pail Kids. You had a puppeteer from Return of the Jedi. You had the guy, the kid, Noah Hathaway from Never Ending Story. And then, of course, Lou Ferrigno was your big draw. And then some guy named Noel G from Fast and Furious. I mean, you're not really bringing in, the big people. But here's the issue I have with that now. We've talked about this in the past as it relates to really bad shows and what a bad show can do for a certain region in the country wherever those shows are being held. Now, Great American Con was a comic book convention they had here for a few years, and I was very outspoken as it relates to Great American Con. And the bottom line about that is, if you have a crappy show, good artists, good dealers, good people will not come to those shows for the simple fact that they're like, you know what, I went to it the last couple of years, it was really bad, it wasn't, advertised properly, it was hard to find, there was a lot of complaints, and then they're doing like, I'm not going to show up. Now, a few years ago, in Great American Con, had one down at the Cashman Center or Cashman Field. Really, really great. Neil Adams. You had, Dan Mendoza, the Zombie Tramp creator, who was at the height of his area, was there, and he's a local guy, so of course you expect him to be there. But you had, Ramita Jr. and you had Joe Rubenstein. You had a lot of good artists and a lot of good, people in the industry. And I thought, it's going to be a really, really good show. And it was a really crappy show. So the next year I thought, it's probably going to be a better show. And then they had it down at the convention center. And it was the same thing. It was hard to find things. Some of the bigger artists that you had the year before just didn't show up because they're not going to come to a bad show back to back. Their idea is they're picking certain shows during the course of the year to make money. And then if you're not making money, you're not going to waste your money to go out there, to lose money. So you have a show like Toycon. Now, I'm not a big toy guy to begin with, but what this does is anybody who wants to come to Toycon isn't going to come out because the show was so bad. There's no way no one made money at that show. Anybody who says they made money at that show got lucky because, again, I never saw a ton of people out there. I never saw a lot of, crowds around tables. What I saw was a lot of people sweating because, like I said, you're outside in the heat. Very poorly planned. Now, I understand that it's been a long time since we've had shows here locally in town, and everybody's just happy to get a show. But you have bad shows. Bad shows are just bad for the community and bad for the industry. So, if you're not going to do it right, you're not going to put the time in to really go big on a show, and it's not a big show when your major comic book sellers, when your major people in town, which would be, Maximum, Torpedo, Cosmic Comics, Alternate Reality, places like that are going to go out there, and they don't even sell at those shows. That kind of tells you what it is, because they want to do shows just like everybody else, and they want to advertise their business. But if you can't even get the locals in there, don't even do the show. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. And again, it just hurts the industry in the long run. Now, that's nothing against the people who did this, but you know what? You didn't think it out, and it's just a black eye to the community. So there's your, Toycon, whatever that was, really, really pathetic. And so there was my take. And again, that's my opinion. And I really don't care what anybody else thinks about it because, you have to have a better show than that, okay? So nothing, like I said, I'm sure the people that started are really nice, but really poor job of doing that. So there is that, okay? So last week we talked about, supplies, the price of supplies going up, everything from top loaders, and that's everything across the board. That's comic books, that's baseball cards, that's, non-gaming cards, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever you collect. The price of that stuff is going up. But I noticed that I bought a long box the other day. I needed a long box. And so I bought a long box, and it was $6.99. I'm like, okay. But the long box is even smaller than the normal long box. It's narrower and shorter. So you're losing stuff on the supplies, and it's going to be more and more expensive. And not the fact that it's the ultimate, end of the industry, but things like that frustrate people. And when people get frustrated with an industry or they get frustrated with a hobby, they leave. And if they leave, it just hurts, and I hear a lot of people complaining about it, especially the short boxes. The short boxes are significantly shorter than what they were. And the cost of the drawer boxes that I like to use, which I can't get now, those are up in the $30 range, the $30 to $32 range for drawer boxes. It's just getting out of hand. I mean, if you got to spend $15 for 100 bags, for 100 boards, it's going to price people out. And then what you're going to end up doing is people are just going to stop spending their money because they're not going to spend money on things that they can't protect. You're always going to have the hardcore, collectors. Unfortunately, I'm one of those hardcore collectors that's going to swallow the difference and continue that, but it's going to really affect the amount of stuff I buy and the items that I buy. So in the long run, it's just going to hurt the industry because people have to now balance out, can I buy all the books I want to buy, or I got to save, X amount of money for supplies now, so I have to cut back on 5 or 6 titles that I would like to buy that I can't because I can't afford the supplies as well. So we don't want to get to that there. There was a conversation I had with my friend Brian over at Cosmic Comics. Now, there's a way of doing things. I've talked about this, about my business model as it relates to, box customers. Now, box customers, like I said, the 2 main things that keep a business open is, well, 3 things. Number 1, a reputation for being fair and honest. And 2, a good supply of back issues. And 3, the ability to get your new comic books weekly on time. Now, there's a big issue with that, especially here in Las Vegas, where some shops are not getting all their books because there are so many different distributors now trying to get the books out there. I know Penguin Press is having a hard time getting their books in time. I know DC has delays where they're not getting all their stuff out of there. Stuff still coming in damaged from Diamond. And so again, that's another factor that ultimately hurts shops. But what really hurts shops is when people buy a bunch of books and they want all these titles. So I see people who do this, and this just irritates me. I've talked about this before. This is why if I ever open up a shop, I'm not just going to let anybody be a box customer. You better show a consistent, purchasability. And if not, I'll just put the books up on the shelves and they're going to sell. I'll just show that. And if, people don't like that, then I can't do nothing about that. But, I do know people that are going to get boxes, but, to be a box customer should be a privilege in a comic shop, not a right, because too many people are ordering all these books and they're thinking, they're speculating on them, they're specking on them. And then you're getting 50, 60 books. And then the person goes through all the books and he puts back, 20 of them, or he says, well, I don't want this one anymore. Or I got to put this back, or I got to put that back. And then you get these, prima donna customers who want things done a certain way. And when it doesn't go their way, they pound their fist in the sand like a little baby. Oh, and I'm just going to leave your shop and go to another shop. Well, go ahead and do that. But when it doesn't work out at the other shop, because we can't always help you get what you want, and these shops can't accommodate everybody, you're not going to be able to buy books anywhere. Because if someone did that to me, I wouldn't let them back in my shop. I'd tell them, no, you did it once. I'm not going to let you do it again. I just won't sell to you. And that's the right of a business. And so you get these, these collectors who think, well, I'll just go from shop to shop to shop until they do what I say. Comic shops have a hard time of bending over backwards. And then people get mad because, they can't give away free bags and boards. You understand, a lot of people don't understand this, that if a comic shop gets a 54% return or a 54% discount on new books, 50 to 54%, that's pretty much what they're trying to, that's their little bit of profit margin right now. A lot of these new companies, Random House and all them, those things went down to 44%, 42%. You're losing a large percentage of your profit margin. And so you have to be able to try to, stay above water with that. And how do you do that? Unfortunately, you have to charge for bags and boards. You have to charge for supplies. I used to get free bags and boards. I understand. I used to buy a lot of stuff. And, if I got to pay 25, 30 cents for a bag and board, and I buy 20 books, that's $6. That adds up over the course of time, but you can't take it out on the shop because the shop is trying to stay open, and they don't want to do it, but they have to. It's just part of business. So you collectors out there that are complaining about that, stop complaining about it, because there's nothing that they, the shops don't want to do it. Just stop crying about it. I get these messages from people, oh, my shop charges me this for bags and boards. Guess what? Welcome to the new collector world. Okay, welcome to the new collector world. The problem is all these speculators that buy all these books and jack these prices up for books hurt the industry, because now you see people buy these collections and there's tons of Immortal Hulks out there, later issues of Immortal Hulks, because the earlier issues of Something's Killing the Children sold really well because Something Is Killing the Children was very limited. Then it's not limited, and so people try to buy all these things. They immediately send them to these grading companies, and they immediately get them back and flood the market and manipulates all that. So there was that. That was just kind of a little ramble on right there. This industry is changing is what basically the bottom line is. The industry is changing. In order for the industry to be successful, we need good shows, not crappy Toycons like they had this past weekend. We need good comic book shows. We need shops that are able to stay in business. And in order to stay in business, you need customers who understand that the business has changed and they're not going to be able to accommodate everybody like they did before. If you put orders in for books, now I give the viewers, books to buy. I gave you guys Something's Killing the Children and Ice Cream Man and, Canto. And I gave you all those months before they came out. Now, there's a book coming out in October. It's a new storyline, House of Slaughter, not the free comic book day, but there is a House of Slaughter storyline coming out. Now, that book is going to be ordered extremely heavy because everybody's going to jump on it. It's not going to hold the same price that Something's Killing the Children did. It's not going to, so understand that, because there's going to be people out there buying tons and tons of books. So that's not going to happen. There's also a book coming out in October called Refrigerator Full of Heads from DC Black Label, which is going to be pretty good. And again, is it going to be, as hot as, anything else? It's just a cool storyline that might have a little bit of value when it comes out because it has TV written on it. Those are the things that have TV shows written on it, and there might be a little bit of heat on that right there. So there was that. So like I said, it was just kind of a ramble on video because there's just things that irritate me as it relates to this industry when people complain about things. And I hear, I speak to a lot of shop owners and they're very open and honest with me about, cost factors and things like that. And it makes me feel bad when you have these, baby customers that, cancel boxes and do things that, because they don't like something. So, grow up and, man up and buy your books when you order books, and don't try to throw things back on the shelf because the shops had to pay for that stuff. Don't be that guy or that girl. So there was that. So again, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell. So you know when the new videos come out. Again, I'm going to try to get the videos out every Friday. It looks like I'm going to be able to do that, but I'm also going to try to do a video during the week, and I am going to get back to doing my video hot pick books for the weekly the ones that are coming out in the future, as I just stumble all over my words again. So I will start getting some of those out, but I just gave you two. House of Slaughter, again, it's going to be a good storyline, but it's not going to hold the value that Something's Killing the Children is. And then there's another Stray Dog storyline coming out down the road. That's going to be good as well. And then you have the additional print runs of Stray Dogs that are coming out, which are still going to hold a value because they are fantastic horror homage covers that are just selling really, really well. So there was that. So again, I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the views. Everybody doesn't agree with me, and sometimes my videos are hit and miss. So I just keep doing it, and I appreciate the support. So I hope you liked the video, but as always, if you didn't, nothing I can do for you. Have a great, great day, and I'll see you real soon.